Bonjour and welcome to Paris. I'm Terrance, your American friend in Paris. Coming to you today from my favorite cafe in Paris' 6th arrondissement, the Deux Magots. Perhaps the most iconic cafe in the world. If you look up on the wall, you see the Deux Magots. These are the Chinese merchants, because early on, this was a shop, a mercerie, buttons and bows and fabric. It didn't become a cafe until the 1870s. And these are the iconic Chinese merchants that here for the price of a cup of coffee. Don't complain because it's €6. It's a Broadway show. You look out on the street, you see magnificent women going by, interesting older guys, young guys like me. The architecture inspired by Haussmann in the period of Napoleon III. Just a remarkable experience. And one can sit here all day without being annoyed or being bothered. No one will come by and say, "Monsieur, would you like something else?" You can sit here as long as you like. Although I don't recommend you sit here for the entire day for €6. Have a second cup of coffee. But to really understand the importance of the cafe in French life, and one of the reasons why it was so traumatic for us during the confinement, is that we are very social people. I think human beings in general are very social, but particularly here in Paris. So that one can sit at a cafe. One can even flirt with a woman without being, sent to jail. It's not a felony in this country. Flirting is part of our life and part of our daily ritual. What you have in the French cafe, this ability to sit down, and it's almost like your office. I remember I first came to Paris in 1974. I arrived, and a week later Richard Nixon resigned, although I don't know that there was necessarily any connection between those two activities. But I remember that people that I knew would take a smaller apartment than they required if it came with a telephone, because at that time the installation of a telephone could be 2 or 3 years. So in effect, this became your office. You could sit here, and if you wanted to find me, you could call the Deux Magots and say, "Oh, Monsieur Gelenter, est-ce qu'il est là?" "Ah, that's it." They'd call me on the phone. This was also a center of the publishing industry, this particular neighborhood, and very often writers would leave manuscripts with the cashier. To this day, I swap books with friends or leave documents, and so it's really functioned as an office for many people. When Hemingway was here in the 20s and was writing, they would supply him with paper to write on, perhaps even pencils, as he sat there over the course of the day and wrote about a clean, well-lighted place that was shot in Saint Michel. So that there's an enormous importance in life in the cafe for the French people. Unlike in Italy, for example, where there are these magnificent cafes where you can look beautiful polished wood and brass and art, but most of the time you're just at the counter for a quick espresso, better coffee than in Paris, but nevertheless, it isn't the same experience of sitting here. And if one sits here long enough, eventually, even as an American visiting, you're likely to meet people that you know. And you can always, people kind of know your rhythm. I mean, for example, you come here at 10 o'clock in the morning, perhaps as your coffee break, if you will, or you come in the afternoon, and people kind of know your rhythm. They know to find you. And they can always be there. And at the end of the day, particularly, let's say, we call it Le Bleu, or cocktail hour, happy hour in America, somewhere between 5 and 6, 7 o'clock. People will always say, "Well, I'll meet you at the Deux Magots, we'll have an aperitif, and then we'll figure out where we want to go to dinner." So once again, it is unlike what Starbucks has become in America, where people kind of sit there with computers all day, there's this ability to engage with other people and to far niente, as we say in Italy, pretty much do nothing, but do it in a very constructive way.